So, hot topic of debate today: goaltending. Bad goaltending, good goaltending. Or just goaltending. So I just got a random book here. See, today I came to the defense of Greg Anderson and said it's not his fault that Ottawa lost that game. And I try to not to nitpick on goals. I try not to. Unless I see every shot going the same place on a goaltender. And even then, it's normally high glove. Stop. High glove or high blocker. I was talking to the camera. It's focus. It's either high glove or high blocker. And it's usually a case of teams just getting to tee off from places they shouldn't. From getting to tee off right in front of the net. And those shots are going to go in. Now, it is my belief that goaltending is the worst position in sports. In terms of job stability, you look, for instance, everybody was shocked that Peter Budaj came in and had a good year for LA. Peter Budaj wasn't shocked. Budaj's played well in the American League. But Budaj played his way out of the NHL years ago. It's funny because a forward can have a crappy year. A forward can have 2 crappy years and still have a job. He's able to find some other way to keep his job. Goaltending, you have one job. And if your numbers drop at all, you're at risk to lose your job. Your financial stability, gone. So when I see a goaltender get a big contract, I'm actually kind of proud of him. And it's funny because any starting goaltender in this year's playoffs, I've heard crap said about them. Even Lundqvist with the Rangers, best days are behind him. He sucks now. Got Team Sweden a gold medal, got the Rangers into the second round, but yeah, he sucks. Craig Anderson, overrated. Okay, most inspirational story in all of hockey right now. Has played fantastic considering the amount of time he spent away from the game and tending to his wife, who's been ailing. But yeah, terrible. I even heard Marc-Andre Fleury at certain points. He's done. It's done. And I'm still hearing that now. He's done. It's done. Until Matt Murray gets hurt. Then he's back in, and then it'll all be, oh, he's great. He's the greatest. He's fantastic. He's one of the greatest clutch goaltenders of all time. One of the greatest clutch goaltenders of all time is Grant Fuhr. Don't start typing. I have a qualifier here. Grant Fuhr won a lot of Stanley Cups with Edmonton. You know why? They were the Oilers. They had Gretzky, they had Messier, they had Curry, they had Anderson, they had Coffey, they had Lowe. Fuhr never had to be great. He just had to be good. He just had to make sure he stopped more pucks than the guy at the other end. And when you've got Gretzky and Curry and Anderson and Messier and Coffey and Lowe, and you've got this just endless firepower going out there. Pretty sweet job. I've heard many people say Marty Brodeur, greatest goaltender of all time. Look at his win totals, look at his other numbers. He's the greatest goaltender ever. For me, it's no. Played behind a fantastic defensive system. Was a workhorse, sure. But he didn't face the same amount of or the higher quality shots for a lot of that time. They played the trap. So I don't qualify Marty Brodeur as one of the most clutch, fantastic goaltenders ever. But do I care if you do? Not really. It's not going to keep me up at night. I still like Jonathan Quick. And yet Jonathan Quick's numbers in regular seasons over the last few years haven't been necessarily great. But come playoff time, just something about that kid. He's pretty darn good. And there are those goalies. You'll have people saying, oh, well, Devin Dubnyk, he can't play in the playoffs. I don't think he's played for a contender in the playoffs. And I don't mean any disrespect to Minnesota, but he dragged them as far as he could take them. He was a major reason why Minnesota was there for the first 60 games. When his play tailed off, the team struggled here and there and then was able to make a run at the end of the season, which was inspiring and all, and they lost in the first round. And Dubnyk's going to take criticism for that. Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky had a fantastic season for Columbus. Columbus loses in the first round, and what are people saying? Oh yeah, once they're against a really good team, Bobrovsky falls apart. Bobrovsky's not that good. Braden Holtby. Holtby, fantastic all season. Loses in the second round to Pittsburgh. We're a pretty good team offensively. And right away it's, oh, Holtby can't win in the playoffs. Holtby's terrible in the playoffs. You haven't seen Holtby's playoff numbers then. You haven't seen Craig Anderson's. And you're forgetting what Marc-Andre's flurries were for years. After that first Stanley Cup win, man, his numbers were awful for about half a decade. He couldn't win in the playoffs. There was talk about moving him out just to bring in some goaltender that could win in the playoffs. Now he's respected as one of the greatest goaltenders in the game, and he's a clutch guy. It is a horrible job. It is a thankless job. It is, I honestly believe, the worst spot in sports, because if you're a bad starting pitcher, they'll throw you in the bullpen. You'll get a chance to be a closer. You'll get a chance to get your game back, and a team desperately will need you because you need 5 starting pitchers in your rotation at a given point in time. You've got a lot of pitchers on your roster. Starting quarterback, it can be rough, but you know, if you're a backup, you're going to get your reps. And even if you're number 3, odds are during a season, guys get worn down. Goaltending, bad season, depending on the timing, you're done. You're in the American League and you're buried. Like Budaj. Again, it's not that Budaj suddenly got good this year. It's he was a good goaltender, buried in the American League. And I believe that about Markstrom in Vancouver. I think he was a good goaltender. I think it helped him to be in Utica. But he was still an NHL caliber goaltender. He just got buried in the American League. The part that really made me laugh is that the Canucks waived Markstrom a couple years ago. People are like, they never waived Markstrom. They absolutely waived Markstrom. They did it at the start of training camp because they knew they could sneak him through. Because the Canucks knew what they had. But they had Miller and they had Lack, and they didn't want to waive Lack because they didn't want to risk losing Lack, and they knew Markstrom needed time in the AHL. Now, which team in the league would want Lack ahead of Markstrom right now? There's probably a few, so don't even bother. But see what I'm saying? Goaltending is a heartless job in terms of job security, in terms of the fact that you are absolutely hung out to dry in everything that happens. If you're a defenseman and you're responsible for a guy in the corner and he comes out of that corner and scores, you may not show up in the video footage at all of that game-winning goal. So you're still off in the corner. Goalie's front and center. Goalie's the guy who's going to take the criticism for that. It is a thankless job for the most part. Because as soon as a goaltender wins a Stanley Cup, and whether it's Corey Crawford in Chicago, or I'm trying to think here to another recent example. Well, Matt Murray, Pittsburgh. He was on the verge of just sitting on the bench for the whole playoffs. Your job security? There isn't one. You get your contract, but if you don't play, you're not going to make as much money as the guy ahead of you, even if you're maybe better than he is. I think of a situation like in Florida where I think James Reimer right now is as good of a goaltender as Roberto Luongo. He's not paid like a Luongo. He's not going to complain about it. It's not how Reimer works. And that's not a Florida contract. That's what Vancouver decided they were going to pay, which is just insanity. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you all again tomorrow.